Thank you so much, Stephen, again for the introduction, and thank you to all of you for coming back to our second installment. This is going to be a very exciting and very practical session. I hope you take note of the information we will be sharing with you because it will begin turning things around. And I again want to welcome my partner in crime, Dr. Jaz Mattoo. Hi, Jaz.
Hello. Good morning. Good evening, everybody.
Okay. So last time we talked about the client experience in general, why it is necessary, and even more importantly, that it is the best edge you have over anybody else. Even if you have a competitor next door who is on the call today, it doesn't matter because the vast majority of the outcome you will expect to receive in your practice are from your existing clients anyway. But you will get much more from these clients if you provide them with an outstanding service. So I hope you don't see this as here's another way for me to compete with my neighbor and I'm going to get the upper hand. It's not about that. What we're dealing with is the defeating mediocrity and defeating fear and instead looking forward to a brighter future for our profession. So another important thing that we shared with you last time is that we look at the client experience as a circle, and therefore as a circle it does not have angles, does not have sharp points, and it never ends. It goes on and on and on and on. You get more appointments from every client. You get more yes from same clients, and you draw more referrals. You increase your client base. What a great way to grow. So we've decided to begin that circle with the first contact, which is really a very important one because it is the window to your shop. It is the conduit through which people, both prospective customers and existing clients, see your practice. Now here, I want to give you right off the top, I want to give you a very, very important tip for your success when it comes to the telephone. In the vast majority of practices, consider the telephone as a tool to make an appointment. And we say, let's forget that. Let's take a look at something much more important of what we want to achieve on the phone. And here is the tip. The purpose of the phone is not just to make an appointment, but it is to prepare the client to say yes in the exam room. Okay. This is so important, I want to repeat it. The purpose of the call is to make sure that the client says yes in the exam room. If the people on the phone, and we refer to them as your phone team, if they do their job well, and we'll show you how to do it systematically, not only will the client make an appointment, but you will have also started the process of getting this client to say yes. So the job that the doctor has in the exam room is so much easier when discussing care. Jaz, anything you want to say about that?
No, I think that is well said. A lot of time we in the practice we get stuck inside this expectations from our staff and from our team members because we never ask them that expectations are different than simply answering the phone and being smiley and happy. Expectations are to prepare the client to accept what we are about to recommend when they come in. And there are a few other things that we will be talking as we go through the slides. But I think I'm glad you got this out in the open in the beginning because that puts everything in a different perspective what we're talking now.
Very good. So here's what we're going to be talking about on this call. So remember, the overall topic of our webinars is taking charge of client experience in general. And now we're going to focus on how to take charge of the client experience on the phone. We're also going to discuss why it is important. And we're going to discuss with you the difference in the role that we see people who handle the phone instead of reactive, taking a phone call when the phone rings, to seeing their role as gatekeepers, as somebody who is in charge of making sure that whoever comes in wants to do whatever we want them to do. So let's start with the basic question. What do clients really expect from us when they call us? So let's think about it. It's something that here's an expression I want to share with you. What we are going to share with you totally makes sense. It's all common sense. But however, common sense is not common practice. Although things make so much sense, they're not being put to practice. So we want to reassess this for you and help you put things in different perspective so you do use common sense. Nothing that we say here was created from thin air. Everything is based on research. Everything is based on practice, and everything works. So what do really clients expect from you? Let's go to even a more basic question. Why do people call you in the first place? If you think about it. It's not because they have a sick pet. It's not because they want to make an appointment. The main reason that people call you is that they have a problem. They have a problem, not their pet. They have a problem. And so what is the one thing that we need to provide them? And the one thing is we need to provide a solution to that problem. So for instance, if a client calls and says, my dog is vomiting, they have a problem. Yes, their dog has a problem, but they have a problem with that dog vomiting. If the person on the phone does not know how to handle that call, does not know how to get the client to make an appointment and to prepare the client to say yes, then that person, that staff member, did not resolve the problem for that client. Therefore, the client feels cheated. The client cannot consider that practice, you, as an outstanding place because you did not pay attention to what the problem was. Therefore, you need to know how to handle every phone call, because every phone call matters, so that their problems are resolved. Even if the way the clients talk on the phone does not sound like they are in any urgency to bring the pet in. And how many times do we get this comment, do I need to bring the pet in? Because the client called you, they have a problem. That problem can only be taken care of now. And here's another very, very important tip that we're going to share with you right off the bat. In the vast majority of cases, when somebody calls you because they have a problem, the only way you can take care of this problem is if they bring their pet in. So unless they call for general instructions or general information, the vast majority of cases when there is something that has to do with a pet, the only way you can take care of that problem, not on the phone, the only way is when they come in. So what does that mean? It means that the mindset of whomever picks up the phone is somebody is calling me. I don't know who they are. What I know, though, is they have a problem. And I'm here to help them resolve the problem, because that's why I'm here. The only way I can help them resolve the problem is by me making that appointment. Just that shift of mindset will dictate, will guide the phone team to handle the phone in a better way if the only acceptable outcome is that that person brings the pet in. Just that. And I bet you, I wager you, if you ask your staff what is the only acceptable way for us to help people, most of them wouldn't know what you're talking about. So if they don't know what you're talking about, how can they convey that message to clients when dealing with them on the phone? Jan?
Yes. You know, another thing that I have seen is in this telephone situation is a person on the other side, the client, whoever picked up the phone, made an effort to call us. They definitely have a problem. They have a problem in protecting their relationship with that pet. Their relationship that they have is at stake. It's being hurt, and thus it becomes their problem. So pet has a problem, but it becomes client's problem because pet cannot pick up the phone and call us. And they see their relations to be hurting. They see that that bond is at stake. and they want to protect that bond. We must be very diligent. We must be very aware of this delicate relationship between the pet and the client, and why they are calling us, and so should be our staff, that the reason this phone is ringing, there is a problem on the other side. This client wants to protect and strengthen and maybe even prolong that relationship. So we must provide that service. That's the mindset we have to have in this. Otherwise, this client is calling. There is a reason for it.
So if I ask a veterinary practice owner what they feel about the quality of the people who handle the phone in their practice, invariably they all say I think they do their job well. But how do you know that? Well, I do. I do because we do surveys. We randomly call around the country, and I tell you, it is quite appalling. It is quite scary how the phone is handled. And you all along are in the exam room or in surgery. You have no idea how much business, how much service you are losing because the phone team does not know how to take charge of the client experience. Another weakness that I see in our profession is our general attitude toward the people who manage the phone. In too many instances, if a person has a nice voice and knows how to dial a number or knows how to pick up the receiver, they get a job. That is wrong. So our approach to this is, instead of a person answering the phone, we're going to be teaching you how to create a phone team. It needs to be as professional as the veterinary team because they do have the same importance to the overall success of the practice as the doctors. The doctors cannot see an appointment when there is no patient. The doctors cannot take care of the patient if the client says no. Where it all begins is on the phone. So the way we're going to approach the phone team and the whole way of handling the phone is on 3 levels. The first level is the incoming call. The incoming call supposedly we have no influence on. We have no control over. People call when they want to call, but do they? The second level of the phone team is to make calls, or as we call them, outgoing calls. So when we make outgoing calls in a variety of ways, then we have indirectly, we have an impact on the number of phone calls. The more and the better the outgoing calls are, the more calls come in, and I hope you agree with me. The third level of the phone team is as part of your marketing program, and we're going to talk about this more at a future webinar. But marketing is becoming more and more important for the success of your business, and an important part of a marketing program is educating clients on the phone. So these are the 3 levels of the phone team, and in order for this to happen and to happen well and to give you the results you want, i.e. exceptional client experience, that phone team has to be a truly professional team.
You know, a lot of time in our profession, we look for, we hire somebody when we are under the axe. Somebody has left, and we train them on the job under the circumstances of pressure, and as long as they can say, yes, thank you for calling, blah blah blah, how can I help you? We feel like, wow, that's good enough. And the next step we ask them is how to enter them in the computer to set an appointment. And those are such low-level expectations. And from today on, I'm hoping that most of our attendees and our colleagues who are in the seminar will put a different set of rules for those people who we train and retrain. And this is so important for the success of the practice. What happens in the back rooms is directly proportional to what happened on the phone. And many times we wonder, why did they not do this? Why we recommend this? They have rejected this plan A, plan B, plan C. And as we go through it, you'll see how can we improve it.
So let's begin taking charge of your phone calls, of the client experience on the phone, and let's also begin creating this team. So it all begins with looking at the mirror. Studies show that even though we speak to people on the phone, people can read our emotions. They can read the tone of our voice. And if you say it doesn't matter to callers, then call a business where you get crappy service on the phone, and then you'll tell how important it is. Your clients are people, and when they call you, first and foremost, they themselves need to feel appreciated, welcome, and noticed on the phone. So as we begin creating the phone team, as we begin taking charge of the client experience, here's a simple thing I suggest to do, is that your phone team looks at the mirror before they pick up that phone. Why? Are they smiling? Or are they grumpy? Or are they gruff? Are they in the middle of doing something? Are their minds still somewhere else when they pick up the phone? Every call matters. Every call that comes in can mean another new client to your practice. It can mean another long-term success for your practice, or it may mean losing yet another client you don't even know of. So the process has to begin with, are they smiling? Because smiling on the phone, even though they cannot see you, they can feel it that you're smiling. And that smile will project to them that they are welcome, that you are happy they've called. This is where it all begins. Another important thing is to prepare when the phone rings, is to prepare mentally and emotionally to take care of that phone. So we've already established what the only acceptable outcome of every phone call is, and that is to make an appointment. And what the second outcome is to prepare the client to say yes in the exam room. So with those two expectations, the process of taking charge of the client experience has to begin every time. This process takes a fraction of a second when the mind is trained, but otherwise, unless the mind is trained, it doesn't happen. Things get skipped over and things don't get done, and therefore the quality of the client experience on the phone diminishes. So how do you achieve such a degree of professionalism? By training. That's why we say phone team, because these are people who are trained and trained and trained and trained and measured and then retrained until they become a truly professional team. So when the phone rings once, we suggest to not pick up the receiver with the first ring. Why? For two main reasons. One is that preparation process takes time, although it takes a fraction of a second. However, it does take time. Second is if they pick up the phone the first time with the first ring, what is the message that this is sending to people? The message is, well, this place is not very busy. They don't have anything else to do. They are sitting on the phone waiting for the phone to ring. It's not a good message. We instead suggest to use the interval between the first and the second ring to go through this mental process, mental preparation. So what are some other steps to prepare mentally? One is, I know what is expected of me. The phone rings once. I need to answer the phone. Somebody has a problem. I can solve it. The only way I can solve it is by making that appointment. But that's not enough. I also need to make sure that that person is going to do what the doctor is going to recommend. I don't know what is going on, but something is going on, and the doctor can help them. Next thought process is, am I mentally and emotionally, am I on the call or am I still somewhere else? What if I was working with another client, or what if I was speaking with a colleague, a variety of other activities? You cannot leave, you cannot get to second base unless you've left first base. There's no way to do so. So they need to remind themselves to leave first base in order to get to second base. And how do they do that? By centralizing their thoughts on, now I need to let go of what I was doing before the phone rang, and instead I need to focus on that call. I don't know what they want, but I know that I'm here to take care of them because this is my role. Nothing else in the world exists when I pick up that phone. Jazz, anything?
Yep, so that is a quick exercise, and that can happen when in the hospital, in your own office setting, you do the role plays. You prepare for it. You exercise, just like any other team exercises. This needs to be done. You can't prepare for these kind of emotional preparations unless all this is practice, practice, practice. And as much you can do, better it is.
Yeah, this is such an important point. So what is your attitude toward training? Is training, is it an expense or is it an investment? If you feel that training your team to take better charge of the call is an expense, of course you're not gonna do it, but you are losing a lot of business. You're losing a lot of client relationship. If you consider training as a great investment, then why not do more of it? It's better than putting your money in the stock market. So now that the person, the phone team member, is totally centralized, focused, this person is now in a bubble. They're separated mentally, separate from everybody else, and instead they are focused on the caller. Now they can pick up the phone. So now let's talk of the the 4 steps, or what we call the 4 pillars, to taking charge of the client experience on the phone. We're going to explain every step, what it is, why it is important, and then how to practice it with your team. So the first thing we'd want to do, the first pillar, is the greeting. Now, I call on a lot of practices, and I cannot tell you, they don't know who they are, but I cannot tell you how many times when the phone is picked up, somebody mumbles something which completely goes beyond me. I don't understand what they're saying. And then the only thing I hear is, can you please hold, and click. That's it. If you don't think it happens in your practice, then I'll try calling you. We'll see. It happens all the time. So what is the message I'm getting from this? Somebody there doesn't want me. Somebody there is too busy to talk with me. And if I'm a prospective client, why should I stay on the line? Why should I even go to this place? I go somewhere else. So you need to create protocols. You need to create a policy for how that first utterance of words is to, in order to establish the first contact, to establish this unique experience. Now, going one step up as far as quality, people say, this is so-and-so from this and this practice, may I help you? Fine, it's a good way to handle the greeting, but is this the best way? If I call 5 practices, and if every practice says the same thing, I'm Jennifer from ABC Animal Clinic, how may I help you today? Or I'm David from CDE Animal Clinic, how may I help you today? How can I tell who is the right practice for me? So if you want to stand out, especially when the call comes in from a prospective client, that greeting needs to be unique. And there are many ways to do so. That's not the room to discuss this. At the end of the call today, we will tell you how we can continue this discussion. But for now, we just want to raise your awareness to the fact that your phone team needs to get together and need to discuss what is a better way to greet people when I first pick up that phone. Mentally, I know what to do, but verbally, what do I need to say to tell this client, wow, this is the right place for me. Wow, I should talk with them and not keep going somewhere else. Okay, so the greeting is very important. Now, Jazz, anything about greeting?
No, I'd say, there are like 4 pillars of the call. It will get, in the greeting alone, I could spend like 10 minutes on how to prepare for it and how to create a wow welcome to the practice. That's where it starts, in the greeting. And I will just simply say it needs to express a wow welcome.
Yes.
No matter what you do, how you do it, That's the message that should be
Wow.
sent to the person. Wow.
That's wow.
And yeah, that's what has to happen on the greeting.
Very good. Well, the second pillar is developing rapport. So if you say what you say, then you put people on hold, how can you create a rapport? You cannot. And that immediately diminishes the chances they show up, or if they show up, that they say yes to what the doctor recommends. So I do not recommend to put on hold. So the second pillar, developing rapport, unless it is an emergency, unless a client says, my dog is bleeding, my cat is not breathing, if this is the case, then of course immediately we get into action. But how many such calls do you get on a day, on a week, on a month? So the vast majority of calls are not emergency. And I tell you, if you want to take charge of the phone call, the first thing your phone team needs to focus is not on the pet. It may be counterintuitive, but it is so. The first thing that people need to do is focus on the person, because guess who is the most person in their lives? They themselves. It's not about just taking care of the pet that they're calling you. They're calling you because they want a certain experience what they're looking for. Experience, not the fact that you did a spay on their dog or that you've cleaned their ears. That's not the kind of thing they're going to take with them and recommend 10 people about. The only way that they will recommend it to other people is how they felt about you when they came in, how they felt about you when you handled them on the phone. This is the only edge, the true edge you have in practice these days, because veterinary medicine has become such a commodity. So it is the experience. So I say, instead of just focusing on the pet, first thing you do is you focus on the animal. You remember what we said on our last call? We are not so much in the pet business as we are in the people business. So that should focus be. So what's the best way to create rapport? And exactly that is by asking questions. So your phone team needs to have a series of questions that have been practiced, that have been tried, that have been measured, that have been repracticed and repracticed. Come up with 3 or 4 questions, the best questions to ask to create that kind of rapport. There's a whole gamut of questions you can ask. There are some good and some not so good. You need to come up with the best questions, and we can help you with those later if you want, if you'd like. But there are 3 or 4 questions that invariably, unless it's an emergency, invariably every time the phone is answered, after the greeting comes the rapport, before we even talk about the pet. Before we say, how can I help you? What's wrong with your pet? First, we talk with the person. So what are the 3 or 4 questions that you personally can create that will draw people to talk about themselves, to draw people to share with you things that are important for them, how they feel, what they're thinking, what they're looking for, what they hope. Yes, that's right, because we are establishing a specific experience. And so when it may sound kind of strange to you and may even sound weird to your phone team, but this is what really matters to people. When you call a business and you are truly wowed, it is because they know what they're doing and because they put the focus on you. Just think about it. So that rapport is crucially important, and it will show the caller that this is somebody who is happy to see me, somebody who has noticed me. And this is so important to all of us, to be noticed. The third pillar in the phone conversation is to show knowledge. You know how the saying goes that we should not judge a book by its cover, but we all do. So here's another bit of information I'm going to share with you, which on the surface may sound counterintuitive, but hopefully you think about it and you will listen to this, and I believe it will sink in. The true meaning will sink in. Is that people make a judgment on the doctor's ability to take care of their pet by how well the phone is handled. On the surface may have nothing to do with it. What is the doctor's knowledge? Doctor went to school. Doctor knows so much about radiology and ultrasonography and internal medicine. What does this have to do with how the phone is handled? Well, I tell you, people judge the book by its cover. People judge the quality of the doctor's ability by how well that phone is handled. So how the greeting is done, how much rapport has been created in a 30, 45 second, and also how knowledgeable that person on the phone is. If the person on the phone is knowledgeable, not diagnosing, not medicating, but showing knowledge about that specific reason the client is calling about, that is going to make the client conclude, wow, if this person on the phone knows so much about this, let alone the doctor. But contrast that with a client says, my dog is coughing, what should I do? If the phone member says, oh, I don't know, let me put in hold, I'll have you talk with somebody. Fine, you can do that, but did this really make a deep impression on the client? Absolutely not. Did this prepare the client to say yes when the client sees the doctor? Absolutely none. Instead, if the team member, upon hearing the purpose of the call, if the team member knows what questions to ask and what information to share, not doctor information, but a phone team member level of information to share, to know that he or she are very experienced on that subject, very knowledgeable on that subject. That's what begins the process of saying yes in the exam room. In addition, if the phone team member trusts the doctor's ability to deal with the problem, and it should. If the phone team member does not trust the doctor's ability, they should not be answering the phone. It's a crime. But if that person trusts the doctor, and if that person expresses their trust in the doctor to the client on the phone, now you can see how we're creating this strong bond already before the client even saw the doctor. We are creating the bond between the client and the doctor. So if the team member, after showing knowledge, if the phone team member says, you know, Dr. Smith has been seeing cases like this for so many years, she's so knowledgeable, and I've seen her take care of such problems, and pets are doing so much better when they come to see her. Just think what message she's sending to the client. Wow, this is somebody I can really trust. Wow, this is a person who trusted the vet. This is it. This person is so lovely. This person take the time to ask me questions about me. This person is interested in me. I trust this person. And now this person just told me that she trusts the doctor. Now I can trust the doctor even before I've seen that doctor. So showing knowledge is excruciatingly important. Now, the question may be, well, how can they know what questions how can they know to show knowledge? So I tell you that last time I looked, there are between 18 and 20 most commonly seen cases in practice, the most common reasons people call about. People can say things in many, many ways, but what they're basically after are between 18 to 20 reasons. So all you have to do is create a list. Coughing, vomiting, itching, not feeling well, diarrhea, you name it. Injuries, you name it. 18 to 20 cases. So you need to create a list of 18 to 20 cases, and then you need to create questions on the level that the receptionists need to know. You need to train them, you need to practice them, you need to test them, and then you need to put it to use. So they try those questions to show knowledge when people call about an issue, and then you will see the result. You'll see the big wow that people have when on the phone.
You know, Steve, just let me chime in a little bit on this showing knowledge. We already established that people have a problem and they are calling to solve that problem. And they are not. We are not going to train our receptionist or a person who is picking the phone up to solve the problem on the phone. All they have to do is to create enough awareness on the other side of the phone that, this could be a more complex problem. When you ask the questions for vomiting, could it be something that dog ingested? Could it be some kind of viral issues? Could it be some kind of metabolic issues? Could it be something this? That's all they have to know, that you create an awareness on the other side of the phone that, yes, I need to come. I need to go there because nothing can be done on the phone. Many, many times, you got a call on the phone and my cat is vomiting. She has been hacking since yesterday. Can I use Laxatone? And a lot of our staff will say, you could try that. We give in to those situations. Why don't you try? And if it does not get better, give me a call tomorrow. And if we have trained our receptionist and our staff to not get caught into that situation, cat could have asthma, cat could have pneumonia, that cat could have some kind of hairball or a rubber band in the stomach, or could have metabolic issues. There's so many things that could be going on. That's all they have to create. They don't have to know all the answers, but all they have to know is the questions. And when they ask the question, that shows the knowledge about the whole team. And you're creating a client perception that when I go, there's going to be some investigation. There's going to be some diagnostics. You're preparing the client to accept more by asking the questions. It's so important, and it's not going to happen, folks, unless you practice in your own team, unless you create those questions and practice on it and test your own team every so often. That is so fundamental.
Very good. So if all of this is in place, then we're ready for the last pillar, the last step. And this, I would say, from my experience, is the weakest link in the way we handle the phone. I hope you can know, or you can imagine what that step is. It is calling clients to action. Don't assume that just because a client calls, they know what you want them to do. You do not. You don't have the luxury to assume that, because people don't. There are instances when people say, my pet is vomiting, I want to bring my pet in today. That's fine. But what we're talking about are the vast majority of cases when people talk about the problem, but they don't know what's coming next. Don't forget, they're not professional. So we in practice, the phone team, because we don't pay attention to this, we don't know how to transfer from I've showed enough knowledge, showed it, created enough rapport, now it's time to make that appointment. And so the way we approach this is we leave it to the client to decide. So who is in charge? Remember, the purpose and the subject of our call is taking charge of the client experience. Part of it is showing and telling people what you want them to do. People rely on you. They trust you. That's why they call you. You need to tell them what you want to do. Do not leave this to chance. Take charge of the way that call to action is delivered. That call to action itself we can spend a whole day training you how to do. But the gist of it is that in most instances, the question or the suggestion done at the end of the conversation, that call to action is so weak that it leaves the client deciding between yes and a no. And that is not a good way to call to action. When we let the client decide between a yes or a no, there is a 50% probability that the client will say no, and then we're done with it. So if we ask the client, would you like to make an appointment, that question has a yes or a no options. If we say, do you want to come in, again, yes and a no. Instead, the right way to do so, the right way to call to action after we've established the first 3 steps is to say, therefore, looks like we're going to have to take a look at it today. Why do we need to take a look at it today? Because the client called today. Why the client called today? Because it is important for the client. They have a problem and it needs to be taken care of. So whether it is an emergency or not, whether it can wait until tomorrow, I don't know and I don't care. All I care about is Somebody has a problem today. That's why they call us today. Somebody wants that problem resolved today if I guide them the right way. So I say, it looks like we need to take a look at it today. It can be as an itching or a sneeze or a cough. They called. For them, it is a problem. Therefore, we need to take care of it today. I'm going to give you an appointment. I have 9 o'clock or 11 o'clock. Which works best for you? Right? I do not even give the client the opportunity to say no. The way I word the question is between a yes and a yes. I give them the choice between 9 and 11, but I don't give them the choice between coming in or not. If they don't want to come in, of course they're going to tell me I don't want to come in, but I substantially reduce the chances that that client is going to say, no, let me think about it. If I show confidence, if I've gone through those steps properly, if I created rapport, if I showed knowledge, if I showed my trust in the doctor's ability to solve their problem, and if I tell them it needs to be looked at today, therefore I'm going to give an appointment. I have 9 o'clock or 11 o'clock, which works best for you. That itself will greatly increase the probability that they make that appointment.
Yes. You know, another thing, Steve, that I have seen is on the other side of the phone, when a client is calling, some of those clients might be feeling it is the right thing I'm doing. In many cases, they have been struggling for a few hours before they picked up the phone. Some cases, many, many days, the pet was sick, is showing some signs. And they don't know if it's a real issue or is it simply something acting up. So they are not sure, and they finally picked up the phone in that confusion, and finally it pushed it over to that phone, and they call you, and we leave them hanging in that struggle of making the decision. I think we have done a disservice. They hope that we give them a direction to make the next step. And another thing I have seen is, you know, many clients will not like to be felt dumb. Some people felt like, oh, they are just so stupid to just call the vet for this simple of a problem. They just think like they don't want to feel stupid. So we need to support them in making a decision, and we don't do it. It's so sad. We don't that might in the final step. Client might be just hung up in that stupidity emotion that they don't want to be called stupid. So we must pull them over and say, you know, thank you, Mrs. Smith. You made the right decision. This need to be taken care. You know, you are not dumb. Let me check you at 9 a.m. or 3 p.m., whatever works for you. We need to get them to the next side of the station.
Very good. So now we're going to spend a moment on the phone when the phone call comes from a phone shopper. We all get those calls. And if we have a system in place to turn the vast majority of them into long-term customers or clients, we will be a very successful practice. So these are the steps that we need to go through in addition to the steps we have shared with you when a call comes in from an existing client that we need to add when we identify that the caller is not a regular client. So how do we identify that? After the initial greeting, if we know that person already, then naturally it is an existing client. But if we don't remember whether this person is a client or not, then what can be simpler than asking, when was the last time we've seen you and your pet? If they say never, then we can assume it is a prospective client. Therefore, as if the phone team member is well trained, they know how to handle it. They switch to a different, slightly different protocol. And so, yes, we still want to go through the 4 pillars, but to this we need to add a few more steps. So we're going to go over these steps quickly as we are running out of time. As you can see, we are very passionate about this area of your practice, and we can spend a whole week just talking about this. So for the most part, what we're trying to do, once we identify that this is a phone shopper, the first thing we want to do is to get their name. Because if we don't get their name or don't get a way to contact them, then if they hang up, if they say, let me think about it, I'll call you back, they're gone. We've lost them forever. Instead, we need to have a protocol in place to try to get their name and to get their phone number and then some, as we'll show you. So a good way to do so by design, by protocol, meaning you always follow this, is, oh, I'm so glad you called. How did you find about us? Create a rapport. And then before we continue, once you get their name, before we continue, Jennifer, what is your number? Not may I get your number. What is your number in case we get disconnected? Please give me your number in case we get disconnected. In most cases, people will give you their number. Now you already have a way to contact them. If that phone call does not end up with an appointment, there is a way for you to call them back if it is important for you to try to get them to come in. So you get their number. Now you go through this process, you identify what the purpose of the call is, you show knowledge, you call them to action. So if they make an appointment, great. But what if they don't want to? What if they still hesitate? And remember what I said, what I want is to try to get their address, because if I get their address, then I can follow up with them. I can educate them on that specific reason they've called me, and then I can show them how different I am, and eventually I'll get them in. But I cannot ask them to give me their address. They don't know me. They don't trust me yet. What are they going to say? No, I'm not going to give you the address right now. I'll call you later. And that's it. They're gone. Instead, what I'm going to say is I'm going to say, so Jennifer, and again, this is in the end of this process. If the caller says, let me think about it, or I'm going to call you back, I'm not sure. Okay. So you use that technique only if you know that you're one step away from losing them forever. You say, Jennifer, for calling us today, I am going to send you a $25 gift certificate for your next visit. What is your address? Now, who is not going to want $25? There's a lot of studies that show that we hate to lose, especially we hate to lose money. It's called the law of scarcity. We are very, very afraid to lose something, especially money. So if you tell them what I'm going to say, today I'm going to put a $25 for calling us today. I'm going to put a $25 gift certificate for you for your next visit. What is the address? The vast majority of people are going to give you their address because they don't want to lose the $25. Now remember, they can only use those $25 when they come in on the next visit, which is exactly what you want. So when they get that voucher, this gift certificate, and especially now they have their address, you have their phone number, you follow up with them, you have a protocol in place, you're much, much, much more likely to get them in.
Yep. That is also true. And one more thing that I have seen is, let's say they did not make appointment, they're not coming in. What if you make a follow-up call? It is a PR call, and you, like 2 days later or 1 day later, one of your staff member gives them a call, Mrs. Smith, on such and such date, you made a call, you were concerned about blah, blah, blah. However, you were not sure at that time. I was concerned, so I'm making a call to make sure everything is going fine. I hope all is well now. Do you have any questions? Do you have any more thing that I need to ask the doctor and can help you? Just developing a PR relationship. If you have the phone or the address or both, you have a more chances of showing the wow on your part as a practice. You stand out than the rest of the crowd because you made that effort in the last minute. It takes you 1 or 2 minutes to do that call, but it will set you apart.
Very good. So the next level of the phone team is to make outgoing calls. However, for the benefit of time, I would like to skip over that for now because it looks like there are going to be some questions, and we're getting toward the top of the hour. So what I want to show you before we share some more information with you is to Stephen, if you want to open up the lines, and if anybody has a question, instead of calling them in, have them type them in You collect them. I'm going to continue speaking for a couple of minutes. If there is a question, you interrupt me and I will answer it, okay?
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, use either the chat or the question panel over on the right. We'll just kind of pile them up, and at the end, like Dr. Kornfeld said, we'll ask those questions and get them answered.
Okay, so while the questions are coming in, if there are any, I want to reemphasize how our approach to the phone. The phone is such an important tool. In fact, it is the most important tool in your practice. And I refer to the phone not as receptionists, but instead as a phone team. It's like a professional team. The more professional they are, the better prepared they are, the better the results for your practice. And so like any professional team, things need to be measured. If things are not measured, there's no way for you to know how well the team is. So it is important for you to find a way to measure the quality of your phone team after training has been provided. There are a variety of ways. Nowadays, it is really easy to record phone calls. And let me refer to you, Dr. Matu. Is that something you do in your practice from time to time?
Oh, yes, yes. All the time we go over it and check it out and train. While you're saying that, Steve, I also want to, just allude to one thing that happens to all of our professionals, including us. We are humans. We go to continuing education seminars, webinars. We go on CEs, conferences, and we listen there. We get all excited, and then we come home. Maybe 90-95% of the people will just drop the ball, not do anything. I think what I am going to leave with a question here, what are you going to do with what you have just realized, what could be done, and what action are you going to take? Because majority of us are simply going to say, that was good, or that was a good point. That was something nice that somebody said, and not take action. So nothing's going to happen unless action is taken into making it happen.
Yeah, so asking people to take a quick note after the call, what the client said, what I said, and recording it on a log, at least the beginning 2, 3, 4 weeks, will allow you to then analyze the quality of the calls by the caller, by the nature of the call, and then you can use this material to for training. And another good way for training is by recording sample of the calls. So Stephen, are there any questions?
Yes, I have one question that came through. This individual is looking for some tips on how to balance talking with a client at the front desk while also placing a caller on hold. So a call comes into the front desk, they're also speaking with somebody at the front desk. How do they handle that situation?
Yeah, it's amazing. I get this question all the time. So it's a very, very good question. So you are speaking with a client and then the phone rings. What I would suggest to do is to use a hierarchy of importances here. The client in front of me is already here. The client is not going anywhere. The client on the phone, if I put them on hold or if I let that phone ring until it stops, I've lost them. So as far as hierarchy, my priority is to answer that phone. I need to know what to say. I don't just make things up. I need to know what to say to the client in front of me. They will understand, especially if I say what I say well, and I excuse myself to take care of that phone. And I take care of the phone. I don't spend more than 3 or 5 minutes. No big deal. I make that appointment. I take care of them. They feel, the clients on the phone feel taken care of. They feel cherished. They feel nurtured. They go, wow. I hang up, and then I go back to the client in front of me, and so forth. So create a priority, and the person on the phone has the highest priority, unless, again, it is an emergency. So let's continue on for a moment. I'm going to skip over that. It is truly, truly, truly essential, as Dr. Matu was saying, without training, without doing something about it, nothing will change. We share with you a lot of practical information which can turn things around for you in your practice in the way that clients feel the experience they have with you on the phone, and thus when they come in. But this can only happen when when you train them. So you need to invest the time to create some training, some measuring, some testing, have them show you they know how to handle the phone before you let them answer the phone. So what we're going to do now is skip through this and just tell you in a nutshell on our next webinar. Now that if the phone team handled the phone well, we expect that client to make an appointment, but that's not where the experience process ends. This is where it begins. So on our next call, we're going to help you take a greater charge of the client experience when they are in the lobby or when they are coming to your practice. So it should be very interesting too, very practical. If you have any questions, comments, here's information for you to call us. You can call us directly on our phone, or you can send us an email. And Stephen, any other questions?
Yeah, there's actually a couple, and I'll read through each of them. They're kind of lengthy, but hopefully you can answer both of the questions. One is we have an extremely large call volume at our hospital, and we do have to place owners on hold sometimes. We start saying, "Thank you for calling the name of the practice. This is Paula. How may I help you?" And after they tell us what their need is, we say, "May I please place you on hold and get another team member to help you with that appointment or question." Do you feel that that is appropriate, or is it seen as not giving that caller that has the call the value that it needs? So they struggle with that on a daily basis. So I guess the question is, how do you handle putting somebody on hold and turning them over to somebody else?
Sure, very good question again. So if you get such a high volume of calls, and if most of them turn into an appointment, then you must be a very busy practice. So therefore, if you your phone team cannot handle people, I would suggest to keep growing, adding new phone team members. That's a good way to grow. But if you don't want to grow, I suggest that unless it is really, really necessary, do not put people on hold, because people don't like to be put on hold. You need to create a backup system. So if I myself cannot handle a phone, who immediately can take care of it? But here's the switch. When you say, "Can you please hold?" then what am I thinking? How long am I going to be on hold? If you don't answer this question, you have damaged that relationship. So what I suggest, if you want to switch from me having taken care of the call to somebody else taking care of the call, I ask permission to put them on hold, but then I need to add this. Can you please hold on for 1.5 minutes? Or can you please hold for 1 minute and 32 seconds? This sounds funny, but what is this going to tell the client is, wow, somebody here really values my time, therefore they value me. Now, if you don't say how long you expect them, they can expect to be holding, in their mind they think, wow, this is going to be very long. If you tell them, can you please hold on for 32 seconds? That's funny. And then indeed, within those 30 seconds, somebody else picks up the phone. If that system is trained and practiced, then it should take more than 15 seconds for somebody to pick up the phone. And in that case, it is okay. The other question?
Okay, this is from Dr. Kramer. I am a veterinarian at an emergency clinic that has a high volume of calls, so similar situation with a lot of phone calls coming in. While our priority is for the care of the patients in the clinic, it is not difficult for the vets or technicians to become tied up on the phone answering questions that require more knowledge and expertise than what an average receptionist may have. Where is it appropriate to draw the line between taking no calls at all and being able to offer potential clients the help and advice that they need over the phone that may be helpful in fostering a relationship with a potential new client?
This is a really good question. It is vast. And to begin even answering this question, it would be it would not be fair for this person. But instead, here's what I'm going to do. For participating in this call, we are now offering a free phone assessment to your practice, where we will assess the quality of the way you handle the phone in your practice. and we'll then give you some tips on how to make it better. And this will give me an opportunity to elaborate on this question, which is huge. And in a nutshell, the only way that you can handle such an issue is to create protocols. Look at all the possible scenarios and decide how to handle them before you get into these scenarios. This is the only way. But how well it's working for you now, if you want to participate in this free assessment of your phone team, all you have to do is go to our website, newdimensionvet.com. You will see a form there. Fill it out, and we will contact you, and we will tell you how we are going to do this phone assessment with you and how we can give you some more tips on how to specifically your team, how we can help your team be more successful.
All right, and that was the last question I see within the question panel and the chat panel. If in the next couple of moments somebody else has a question, I'll definitely try and sneak that in and see if we can get that answer before we close out today. But in the meantime, I guess we will kind of wrap things up. I will say that the recording is going to be finished here in just a moment. We'll get the recording sent out to you. We'll send a link upon the completion of the recording here today. It should be to you in approximately 1 hour. So you should see that very soon, so you can go back and review some of what was discussed here today. And we'll continue to do so for each of the webinars that's coming up for the next 4 weeks beyond today. We will be back again next week at 1 o'clock Central Time for the third part of our series, and Dr. Kornfeld spoke of that just a little bit earlier. And with that, I think I'll turn things over to Dr. Kornfeld one more time to kind of close things out here, and we'll talk to everybody next week.
Thank you so much, Stephen, and for hosting this. And again, I cannot emphasize enough how important your attitude toward your phone team is. It starts with finding the right people for your phone team with the right attitude, with the right requirements, and then training them sufficiently, then testing them and retraining them, and never ever stopping to train them, because that team can only continue to, should continue to grow in its professionalism. And Jazz, any closing comments?
Just what you said is important, and I think there's a lot more. One thing I know is we do not practice as much, and 5 or 10% of the people are go-doers. They just go and make the things happen. But 60-70% of us, we want somebody else to keep doing it for us, and because we have some other priorities and focused on some other things. And 20-30% of us just simply don't want to. We're simply happy where we are, and they don't want to do anything. So I think those who are in the middle of the group, who want the things to happen for them without less of an involvement, I think there are resources that you could use. And we definitely will love to help you out there if there is a need for that, and you feel like somebody can cook the fish and put it on the table, it can happen.
Very well. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again next week.
All right, thanks everybody, and again, the recording will be to you in about an hour. Bye-bye.